Jaya. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Knock my teeth out. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Nitya Gora Haribo, 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 Nitya Gora Haribo. Jai. So welcome everyone to today's Sunday program. I'm very happy to have you all here in class. We're going to start by reading a verse from the Bhagavad Gita. Most of you are probably familiar with Bhagavad Gita. So this verse is chapter 2, text 14. It's a well-known verse. Some of you may know this verse already. So, it's like this. I'll just recite the Sanskrit myself because you don't have it written somewhere. Matra sparshas tu konteya sitoshna dukkha sukha dukkada agama payino nityas tam stitikshasva bharata. All right, you guys are either really good at repeating Sanskrit or you're scholars who already know this verse. Which is it? You already know the verse. It's a really nice verse. So maybe we can do the word for word. Matra sparsha, sensory perception. 2, only. Konteya, O son of Kunti. Shita, winter. Ushna, summer. Sukha, happiness. Dukkha, and pain. Da, giving. Agama, appearing. Apayina, disappearing. Anitya, non-permanent. Tan, all of them. Titikshasva, just try to tolerate. Bharata, O descendant of the Bharata dynasty. So this is Lord Krishna speaking to Arjuna in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and he's saying, O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O scion of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. So let's do that little bit by bit, and you can repeat. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress, and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O scion of Bharat, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. So we'll read the purport here by Srila Prabhupada. In the proper discharge of duty, one has to learn to tolerate non-permanent appearances and disappearances of happiness and distress. According to Vedic injunction, one has to take his bath early in the morning, even during the month of Magh, January, February. It is very cold at that time, but in spite of that, a man who abides by the religious principles does not hesitate to take his bath. Similarly, a woman does not hesitate to cook in the kitchen in the months of May and June, the hottest part of the summer season. One has to execute his duty in spite of climatic inconveniences. Similarly, to fight is the religious principle of Kshatriyas, and although one has to fight with some friend or relative, as was the case with Arjuna, one should not deviate from his prescribed duty. One has to follow the prescribed rules and regulations of religious principles in order to rise up to the platform of knowledge, because by knowledge and devotion only can one liberate himself from the clutches of Maya, illusion. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshum Militanjena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashachade Shatarane. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I chose this verse because we've all been experiencing some temporary, what's it say? Non-permanent appearance of the winter season, right? This past week has been exceptionally cold for all of us here in Dallas. And it's quite an extreme opposite to the intense heat that we feel in the summer months, right? In July and August. So when it's cold like this, or when it's extremely hot, but especially when it's cold, it can make you really not want to do anything, right? Except sit inside that nice heated home, or next to your little space heater, or your fireplace, or, keeping warm. And especially if the room's cold in the morning, it can be difficult to even get out of bed, right? You're there in the bed and it's nice and cozy under your blankets. The alarm clock goes off and you're like, oh my God, the room's so cold. What to speak of the bathroom? Could I just stay here in my nice cozy bed? But we have to get up and do our duties, right? And that's what Krishna is saying here, that sometimes there are situations which make that we really don't want to do our duties. It makes it especially difficult to do our duties. But what it means to be a human being is to be dutiful. We have duties in the human form of life. So the subject matter of today's talk is duty, or in Sanskrit the word for duty is dharma. So that's this topic is, what is our dharma? What is our dharma? So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna uses the term swadharma. Swa means one's own. So we each have duties which are individual, which are unique to us alone, right? We each have when each one of us wakes up in the morning and looks at our to-do list, it's different, right? My to-do list is different from your to-do list, which is different from your to-do list. And those things you could say are our duties or our dharma. These are the things that we need to do during the day. And most of those duties are going to pertain to our situation as members of society or members of a particular family, right? So say if you're a mother with small children, then it's your duty to get up and wake up your children and make sure that they get dressed and bathed and ready to go to school, right? If you have a career, if you're a career person, then it's your duty to get up and get yourself ready and get to work on time and be prepared and show up and do your occupational duties. So this is one category of dharma, which Krishna calls varnashram dharma. So varnashram is a whole complicated topic, but varna means occupation. So that's basically one's job. And then ashram means one's situation in relation to family or not family, basically. So if you're not married, if you're a student, then your ashram situation gives you certain duties, right? As a student, you need to study, you need to do your homework, you need to be prepared, you need to respect your teachers and things like that. If you're a married person, if you're in Grihastha ashram, then you have all kinds of family duties. It becomes more complicated. And then if you're a renunciant, then there are different duties. So there are duties that go with ashram, and then there are also duties that go with occupation. So if you're, depending on what kind of job you have, your career, if you're working from home, if you're working from office, so everyone has their specific duties. And these are all what the scriptures call conditional. The varnashram duties, they have to do with our conditioned nature, or kind of like our psychophysical nature and our temporary situation within the scope of this lifetime, right? So these are all conditional swadharma. There's a conditional swadharma. But then there's another type of swadharma that's called sanatan dharma. And sanatan means eternal. So whereas the varnashram dharma, the conditional swadharma, is temporary, will pass through phases, right? What your duty is in one stage is different from what it is in another stage, or one person's duty is different from another person's duty. But when it comes to sanatan dharma, then it's the duty of the soul. in relation to the Lord. And the word Sanatan means eternal. So we are Sanatan living entities. We are eternal beings, and the Lord is the eternal supreme being, and we have eternal duties. As eternal souls, we have eternal duties to the eternal supreme person. So that is Sanatan Dharma. So then, and actually because who we are, our souls, then our Sanatan Dharma, the Sanatan Dharma is our prime duty. The other things are, they're actually meant to support the Sanatan Dharma. The Varnashram Dharma is meant to support us, to facilitate our performance of Sanatan Dharma. So it's kind of like there's the expression that we should eat to live and not live to eat, right? You heard that? So we need to eat because we need to nourish our body. We need to keep ourselves alive, right? We can't, if we don't eat for a prolonged period of time, we're not going to be able to function. And eventually we're going to perish. So we need to eat in order to live. So that eating is so that we can do all the other activities after we eat. We can do our duties, right? We can perform, we can basically live our lives. But some people get so caught up with eating that they just live to eat, right? Like the goal of my life is just to eat good food. I just want to enjoy eating. And a lot of people actually have that mentality, and that's why there's so many, food options out there. There's restaurants and cafes and supermarkets full of food and all kinds of opportunities to eat because many people actually feel like they live to eat. So if you're living to eat, then you're kind of missing the point, right? You're not really having a life. You're not having the life that food is supposed to facilitate, right? So in the same way, our material dharma or our varnashram dharma is meant to facilitate the Sanatan Dharma. So it's not that our lives are meant to just do our social and familial duties. But those things are there so that we can have, a peaceful situation, so that we can, pay our bills and have the support of family. We can have peaceful family relationships and, be respected in society, have a roof over our heads, have clothes to wear, and all that, so that we can do what? So that we can practice our Sanatan Dharma, right? It's just to give us a peaceful, stable situation, a secure situation from which we can serve the Lord, which is the eternal function, which is the eternal duty of the living entity, the Sanatan Dharma. So, and there's a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam which talks about these two different types of dharma and makes it very clear which is the main duty, which is the most important duty. And that verse is spoken by the great sage Narada Muni in the first canto, chapter 5, text 17. So it goes like this. Tyaktva swadharmam charanam bhujam harer bhajan apakvota patetato yadi yatra kvavabhadram abud amushyakim kovarto apto bhajatam swadharmata. So there he's saying that for one who even abandons their swadharma, their varnashram swadharma, in order to charanam bhajam harer, worship the lotus feet of Lord Hari or Krishna, then even if they fall down, even if they have some difficulties on their spiritual path and they just give up their spiritual duties at some point, that's better than not trying at all, than not doing any Sanatan Dharma at all, not worshiping the Lord at all. Even if one performs their varnashram duties or their material duties perfectly. So he says that if someone devotes themselves just to their material duties, like being a responsible family person, being really good in their career, earning money, maintaining the home, maintaining the family, contributing to society in meaningful ways in a mundane sense, even if they do that, it's all going to be, what is the value, right? It's all going to be lost at the end of this life. But whatever we do for Krishna, whatever we do in the realm of Sanatan Dharma, or devotional service to Krishna, that's never lost. So even if we perform like 5 minutes of devotional service, that's going, even after this lifetime is over, the soul is going to go on, and that Sanatan Dharma, because it's Sanatan, because it's eternal, those eternal activities give us eternal credits in our eternal bank account, our spiritual bank account, and we can take those with us. Whole material bank account we have to leave behind at the end of this life. But anything that we deposit into the spiritual bank account by performing devotional service or Sanatan Dharma, we can take with us. So it's saying that even if you start it and you don't finish, but there's no loss. That's better than performing your material duties perfectly. So it's important to keep these in proper perspective. Like what are the really important things in life, and make sure we don't make the mistake of just living to eat, so to speak, or just living to solve our material problems of life. The whole point of solving the material problems of life is so we can get on with our spiritual lives. And sometimes the material problems are, endless. As soon as we solve one, another pops up. That's the nature of material life. So it's designed to keep us, embroiled in problem solving, basically. But we have to prioritize the spiritual duties, even in the midst of problems, because the spiritual duties actually give us a perspective from which we can really permanently solve the material problems, like for good, and not have to deal with them lifetime after lifetime. So as far as the particulars about what is that Sanatan Dharma, what does that entail, then there's another nice verse from Srimad Bhagavatam that says, Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir adokshaje ahaituki apratiyata yayatma suprasidhati. It says that the supreme dharma, the paro dharma, the highest dharma, is that by which we can attain pure devotional service, loving devotional service to the Supreme Person, Adokshaja. Adokshaja is another name for Krishna. And he says that service, in order to completely satisfy the self, which is what we want to be completely satisfied. We're all looking for satisfaction. That service has to be unmotivated and uninterrupted. In other words, it has to be without any material motivations. So when it comes to doing our Sanatan Dharma, our spiritual activities, we shouldn't do them like a business deal with the Lord. We shouldn't be, okay, I'll go to the temple if you, do this for me, if you give me this, if you provide me with this, if you, make my business successful, if you let me pass my exams, if you give me the job promotion that I'm seeking, if you, cure my family member from some disease that they have or something. Then I'll chant your holy names. Then I'll come and do some service. Then I'll give a donation to the temple. We shouldn't approach our service like that. It should be unmotivated. We should come just to please the Lord. Like, I'm here because, I have the time and I wanted to just spend this time with you, Krishna, or devotees. Right? I'm coming here for your pleasure to do some service, to chant your holy names, to hear something, because I want to develop my relationship with you. I want to come closer to you. I want to understand you better. I want to learn about you, Krishna. Right? So those things are not materially motivated. So spiritual motivations are okay. Spiritual motivations are like, yes, I want to make spiritual advancement. I want to be purified of my faults and my conditioning. I want to come closer to Krishna. I want to be a devotee. I want to become a pure devotee. I want to be liberated from this cycle of birth and death and go back home, back to the spiritual world to serve Krishna eternally, which is my constitutional position. So those are nice spiritual desires. Those are not in the category of motivation or material motivations. So our service should be unmotivated and also uninterrupted. It means that we don't just do it occasionally, but it's regular. Like, we try to, as often as we can, try to engage in spiritual life. So if we're chanting the holy names on beads, like a lot of devotees chant japa on beads, like a kind of mantra meditation that many of you were doing just before the class started, right? Sitting down and chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So many devotees take up a practice of chanting the mantra to themselves in like a meditation like that on beads. And so if we're doing that, it's good to do it regularly. Do it if you're doing 1 round or 2 rounds, whatever it is, but do it regularly. Do it every day at a certain time. Be regulated. Instead of doing it, just once and then, weeks pass and then, oh yeah, maybe I should chant. Feeling really stressed out. It could help me. But do it regularly. Of course, anything's better than nothing, but the more, it won't be so satisfying. That's what the Srimad Bhagavatam is saying, that in order for it to really satisfy the self, to get that spiritual satisfaction, then it needs to be regular. And the reason is because, getting back to the Matra Sparshas to Konteya, is that duties that need to be performed, they need to be performed regardless of the circumstances, right? So whether it's hot outside, whether it's cold outside, you're still going to wake up the children and get them ready for school. You're still going to get up and get dressed and get in your car and go to work, if that's what you have to do, right? So in the same way, whether we're feeling inspired or whether we're not inspired, whether the conditions are favorable, whether they're not favorable, we're still going to chant our rounds that we've decided that we're going to chant. We're still going to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. We're still going to come to the temple for darshan. We're still going to do our service that we've promised the Lord that we're going to do for his pleasure. So then when Krishna sees that we're becoming steady in our service, that we're regulated in our service, whatever that may be, then he reciprocates. He reciprocates by giving us inspiration and purifying our hearts and giving us a taste of spiritual happiness and making arrangements in our lives so that we have more support to keep going and to even enhance our spiritual practices, to take the next step closer to him, to advance in our spiritual journey. So, and these things all bring immense satisfaction for the soul, because that's ultimately what we're supposed to be achieving here, right? The goal of life is not to just to earn money and have a comfortable material situation and keep up with the Joneses. The goal of life is to purify our hearts, purify our consciousness, and revive our dormant love for the Supreme Lord, and reawaken our eternal service to him, reconnect with him through loving service. So the more we do that, the happier we're going to be, because we're actually achieving the purpose of life, the purpose of our existence. So then, as far as Sanatan Dharma is, we're learning that, okay, the supreme Dharma is to serve the Lord with devotion, right? To perform bhakti, and then it should be uninterrupted and unmotivated. But then exactly what is it? What is it? What does that entail? So in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya makes it very clear how to practice Sanatan Dharma in this age. Because there are different ages in the cosmic time scale. There are different yugas, right? There's Satya Yuga, and then there's Treta Yuga, and Dwapar Yuga, and now we're in Kali Yuga. So Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself, but he came to perform the role of the Yuga avatar, or the incarnation of the Lord that descends in every age, descends in each one of these yugas, in order to teach the Yuga Dharma, the process of Dharma that is specifically prescribed for the age that we live in. Because as times change, then what we're capable of doing and the conditions under which we act change. So then the process of Dharma also changes accordingly. So Lord Chaitanya, he gives us the Yuga Dharma of Harinam Sankirtan. Right? He says, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nastyeva, Nastyeva, Nastyeva Gatir Anyata. He says that in this age of Kali, which is the time that we're living in now, there is no other way, no other way, no other way of deliverance except by chanting the holy name of the Lord, the holy name of the Lord, the holy name of the Lord. So, so for us, Sanatan Dharma means chanting Hare Krishna. It means chanting this Hare Krishna mantra right here that we chanted as japa before the class, and that we'll be chanting in kirtan soon after the class. So this is what we have to do. Even if it's cold outside, even if it's scorching hot outside, even if I just had an argument with my partner, even if I just lost my job, even if my child is sick, even if I'm not feeling well, whatever it is, it's our prime duty of life is to chant the holy names of the Lord. And fortunately, it's very easy. So we don't have to give up other things, right? The verse that I was quoting from Srimad Bhagavatam by Narada Muni is saying that even if you do give up your material duties, if you perform your Sanatan Dharma, which now we've ascertained is chanting the holy names of the Lord, then there's no loss, right? But the good thing about chanting Hare Krishna is in order to chant the holy names, we don't have to give up everything. That in Kali Yuga, the Lord has made it so easy for us to make spiritual advancement. We can continue, we can keep our families, we can keep our jobs, so we don't have to take sannyas, and we don't have to go to the Himalayas and live in a cave, and like they would do in previous yugas. We can stay in our situation, and we can just chant the holy names. Just wake up a little early in the morning, and before you go off to work or school, just sit down for some period of time and chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And then on your lunch break, you can chant a little more. And then when you get home in the evening, you can sit down with your family and do some kirtan, right? Just sing the holy names together, or chant some more japa together. Read a little bit of Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam for some inspiration, because we need some inspiration to keep going. And then as much as possible, come to the temple and associate with devotees so that we can chant the holy names together, because it's so much easier to do kirtan together, right, with devotees, and especially in this environment of the temple with beautiful Shri Shri Radha Kalachandji standing right there, blessing us, empowering us. The Shri Shri Gaurnitai, who, came to teach us this process of chanting Hare Krishna, standing right there, encouraging us. Yes, this is what I want you to do. Keep going, keep going. And with Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, who are the most ecstatic forms of Krishna and Balaram, just blessing us with their transcendental glances and their beautiful smiles. So, yeah, when we come here, it's a lot easier. So it's nice. Of course, all of you are very intelligent and spiritually inclined, and that's why you're sitting here right now, listening to this. So Krishna is very pleased when we make an effort to learn about him and hear about him and hear about the process by which we can come closer to him, and most importantly, practice that process, follow that process, apply what you learn when you come here, and the spiritual feelings that come up when you're here in the temple with the devotees, try to carry that with you and keep it going, keep the transcendental vibration going, even when you leave the temple. Because you can also make your own homes into a temple by just chanting the holy names. As soon as we chant the holy names, Krishna is present there in the form of transcendental sound, and he's with us. So wherever Krishna is, that's like a temple. So we can invoke the presence of Krishna just by chanting his holy names. It's that easy. Just by saying Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You can bring Radha and Krishna into your heart, into your mind, into your home, into your office, into your car. You're driving to work, you can be chanting the holy names. And you can feel the presence of Krishna. You can feel his support, his mercy, and his love coming through the holy names. And then as you're doing that, then when you come together, on Sundays or, whatever spiritual programs you're able to attend throughout the week also, then you'll feel that boost, you'll feel that extra boost, like a plugging in and recharging your spiritual batteries. And then you go home again and go throughout the week running on that battery, And then as you feel like the battery's going down, then come back to the association of devotees, come back to the temple, recharge, and keep going. And like that, we can get through this lifetime. We can stay focused on our Sanatan Dharma, and we can keep it steady, keep it regulated, and be completely satisfied in our spiritual selves. So And this is what I'd like to address here, the topic of dharma. So just in review, there are two kinds of dharma, or duties. There's our material duties, which may be called varnashram dharma, that Krishna talks about in the Bhagavad Gita. And then there's also our sanatan dharma, or eternal duties, the duties of the soul in relation to the Supreme Soul, Krishna. And by performing those duties, we connect to Krishna. And that Lord Chaitanya teaches us that the specific dharma for this age, the Yuga Dharma, is to chant the holy names of the Lord. So he made it very easy because he knew that life is tough in the world nowadays. Things are not easy. Life is complicated, and it's difficult to remember elaborate rituals and things like that. We don't have time for them either. So chanting Hare Krishna is easy. It's 3 words, right? And it's you can sing it, so it's easy to remember. You can do it alone. You can do it with friends. You can do it with music. You can do it without music. You can do it anywhere and everywhere. There are no hard and fast rules as to time, place, or circumstances, or the candidate, the personal qualifications. Anybody can chant anywhere at any time. So let's just try to take this process of dharma very seriously, because dharma, after all, means duty. This is our duty as human beings. This is the most important thing that we need to do, is to chant Hare Krishna. And when we do that, then everything else becomes easier too. And you can experience that. So I'll open it up for any questions or discussion on these points. Does anyone have some thoughts they'd like to share about dharma? Yes, please. A higher purpose, yeah, for spiritual dharma, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, good question. Thank you. So the trick is to spiritualize our material duties, right? So our nature is that not only do we feel like we need to do these things, and that is part of it, but also we may like to do these things, right? We're attached to our material duties. We're attached to the ways that we show up for our families and engage with our families and extended families and social groups, colleagues at work, and our position in society. We're attached to that, and the respect that we get from it, and the support that we feel from it. So that's all fine, right? The way to, so the trick is to spiritualize that by connecting it to Krishna. So Krishna is, whatever comes in touch with Krishna, Krishna is totally spiritual, and he's just, exuding spiritual energy. So whatever touches, just like if you have a magnet, if you have a very strong magnet, and then you touch it to a piece of metal, a piece of iron, not only is it going to attract the metal, but it's also going to magnetize it. So that you have if you have a piece of metal and you have like a paper clip hanging from it, and then you touch that paper clip to another paper clip, then it's going to pick up the paper clip, and soon you'll have like a chain of paper clips, right? You've probably done that. You go, kids do that. So as long as we connect the things to Krishna, then they become Krishnaized. We connect them to the Supreme Spirit, then they become spiritualized. So then the question is how to connect those things, right? So for example, family, that's easy to connect, because if we're performing Sanatan Dharma, if we're chanting the holy names, then we just engage our families, right? We have kirtan, we wake up in the morning and sit down and have japa together. Whatever is cooked at home, then you prepare vegetarian foods using, nice pure sattvic ingredients, and then offer them to Krishna so that it's prasadam, and then everyone's taking prasadam. So that act of offering, then the act of cooking becomes spiritual. It becomes an act of devotional service. And offering is devotional service. And then even eating, because you're not just eating food, you're now honoring prasadam, the Lord's mercy. That also becomes a spiritual activity. So in the same way, you go to work, so you're doing your job, and then you're earning some money. So then part of that money you donate. You give in charity to the temple, to spiritual projects that are going on to support Krishna consciousness, the expansion of Krishna consciousness within your community or internationally, for the maintenance of the temple, so that everybody can, have this nice spiritual association, or sponsoring feasts so that everyone can honor prasadam together, like that. And then because now your work, the results of your work are being engaged in the service of Krishna, then the work itself becomes a devotional activity, right? Because you're not just doing it to earn money to satisfy your material needs and pay the bills and things, but you're working to serve Krishna. You're working to earn money which will serve Krishna. So by connecting the results of the work to Krishna, then the work itself, that becomes spiritual, and the work becomes spiritual, and you become spiritual, right? Everything becomes spiritualized. And even the people that you work with, they get a little bit of that spiritual influence, by your association, by working with you. So yes, spiritual life is so powerful. Just that little connection can cause, a ripple effect, which goes out and spiritualizes everything, especially, to the extent that people are open to it. But at least for ourselves, right? So even though you go to work, you show up, as a professional. You're not going there like, all right, I'm a Hare Krishna devotee and I'm doing this for Krishna and I'm going to teach you all about Krishna. We don't go like that. You go as a professional, you wear your business clothes and you do your duties there according to your job description. But you keep Krishna in your heart, right? Underneath the business suit, there's Radha and Krishna in the heart. So, yeah. It's like Lord Chaitanya told, I think it was Raghunath Das Goswami. So Raghunath Das Goswami, before he joined Lord Chaitanya, before he became a full-on devotee, he was living at home, and his family was very wealthy, and they were quite materialistic, and so they didn't want Raghunath Das Goswami to join Lord Chaitanya. They didn't want their son to just become a full-time monk, to become a full-time devotee. They're like, no. And his father and his uncle, they were engaged in the service of they were tax collectors. So, and they were really trying to keep their son with them, and that he would carry on the family business. And they even got him married to a very beautiful girl, thinking he'll get attached to her and he'll just stay peacefully at home. But so he went to Lord Chaitanya and he said, all I want to do is just get out of my home and just join you and take part in the Sankirtan movement and serve you and do kirtan all over with you and, be a part of your mission. And Lord Chaitanya said, don't be a crazy fellow. Go back home and, keep your family peaceful. And then he gave him this little secret. He said that just as if there's a woman who's married and she has a lover, and there's a man, she has a relationship with a man outside of, her marriage, so she is going to do her household duties even more carefully, even more conscientiously, so that her husband won't suspect that her mind is distracted by this, paramour. So he said, in the same way, you go home and do your duties to your family exactly the way that they want you to. So if your parents want you to do something, just do it. If your wife wants you to do something, just do it. Just please your family. Be a normal person for them. But within your heart, just like that woman who's married and has a, extramarital affair going on, she's doing her household duties, she's serving her husband and whatnot, but she's always thinking of him and when she's going to meet him, the other man. So he told Raghunath Das, so you do your things, but in your mind, you'll be always thinking of me and always thinking of Krishna. So in the same way, we're doing all of our duties in the material world. We're going to work, we're, taking care of the home, we're taking our car to the mechanic, we're dealing with our finances and things. But but that's all kind of, we're doing that, but it's kind of, that's what the surface is, right? That's superficial. And what's going on a deeper level is that we're cultivating a loving relationship with Krishna through those activities. So others aren't aware of what's going on in our heart and mind when we're at work or something, but Krishna knows. Krishna sees that we're actually just absorbed in thoughts of him. We're focusing on him. Everything that we do is for him. And we also, if we sometimes forget, then we remind ourselves by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So the chanting is the best way to remember Krishna, to always remember Krishna and never forget him, no matter what we happen to be doing externally. Okay? All right. Something else? Yes, Priya.
Hare Krishna. I was thinking that in the course of trying to follow your guidance in this class, establishing new habits, maybe changing our lifestyle to adopt more devotional practices, it can be very difficult to start new habits or to drop old ones. And I was hoping you can just give some advice on when we struggle to establish a good habit in our life. Maybe it's chanting every day, or struggling to get rid of some bad habit which is holding us back in our spiritual life. How can we be determined to continue on and establish those good routines in our life?
Yeah. I mean, the most important thing is association, right? We need to associate with like-minded people. It's like, there's a saying that, tell me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are. Because we're so much influenced by our association, even if we don't want to be. It's just inevitable that we're going to develop the qualities and habits and values of the people that we are with most of the time, that we spend most of our time with, unless we're very, very strong. So it's important to have like-minded association. And also to specifically have, at least one or two people in our lives who we can hold ourselves accountable to, right? So let's say you want to start chanting 2 rounds every day. Let's say if you're not chanting, you decide, I'm going to start chanting Hare Krishna. I'm going to get myself some beads and a bead bag to keep them in. And every day I'm going to make sure that before I go to sleep, somehow or other, I chant 2 rounds. So if you're on your own, then, that's kind of between you and Krishna, right? No one's going to know whether you did those 2 rounds or not. So if, let's say it was a really busy day and it's late at night and you're really tired, you're not feeling well, and you're just like, ugh, I'm going to bed. Then who's going to know, right? Okay, Krishna's going to know, but, sometimes we can think Krishna's really far away, and it doesn't really register that, that we're accountable to him. But if we have somebody who's immediately with us, like if your husband or wife, or you have a friend, or you have, your mentor or a spiritual master, or somebody that is kind of your accountability partner, right? Like that. So then let's say, and you designate that person, like you connect with that person and you say, hey, I want to start chanting 2 rounds every day, and I need some help with accountability. Can you be my accountability partner? And then you ask that person that, every day at a certain time, let's say at 7 p.m., they send you a little text message saying, have you finished your 2 rounds yet? Right? Or maybe that when you finish, you need to message them and let them know, just finished my 2 rounds, and then they'll send you a little thumbs up emoji or something. Right? So that can help, because then if we don't, then the person's gonna, maybe get on our case, or, something like that, or we're just gonna feel like, oh, we disappointed them, or that person sees that I'm a loser, or whatever, like it's just a psychological thing, really, that keeps us on our toes. So that can help a lot. Yeah. And another thing is to keep hearing of the benefits of these spiritual practices. Because the reason that we may stop doing them is because we lose sight of actually how beneficial they are, how essential they are, how, why they should be made a priority. So then we need to go on hearing from realized devotees who have been chanting Hare Krishna for decades, who have been reading the scriptures and relishing, and who relish the scriptures, and whose hearts and minds and lives have been transformed by the process of bhakti, by the simple process of chanting and hearing and studying Prabhupada's books and serving Krishna. And the more we hear from them, from realized souls who have a real taste, then we'll be convinced that, yeah, this is what I have to do. This is, it's not just something that I want to do, but I have to do this. This is the most important thing in my life. This should be the highest priority. Everything else can, wait. I have to do this. If I don't do this, then the whole mission of my human life has been spoiled, right? Because if we look around, it's like, as far as, food, clothing, and shelter, and family life, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, the animals are doing that, right? Every animal on the planet has a means for eating, for sleeping comfortably, making some kind of den or a habitat for itself, for finding a mate, reproducing, and then for defending itself, for having, a security system. So if that's all we're doing, and those things are important, we need those things, but if that's all we're doing, then how are we better than the animals? Prabhupada would say we're just polished animals. A dog is sleeping on a carpet, we're sleeping on the bed. Okay, it's, it's a little more comfortable, but it's still just within the category of, animal life. So the special benediction or opportunity or prerogative for human beings is that we can develop a loving relationship with God, that we have the higher intelligence to understand spiritual values, that we can actually practice spiritual life and make spiritual advancement. So that's what we need to do. That's what it really means to be a human, So we can't just put all of our energy into eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, and securing the resources to make those things, to do those things nicely. But we also really have to live a spiritual life in order to even come to the human platform. And then the more we advance and come closer to Krishna, and our devotion increases, then we can call ourselves devotees. And then that's the real perfection of human life, is to become a pure, unalloyed devotee of Krishna. Because that's who we are. It's not like we're becoming something. We already are devotees. The soul is a devotee. It's just that we're so heavily conditioned and so covered over by layers and layers of material conditioning that we've basically forgotten who we are. We're in illusion about who we are. And that's called Maya. In Sanskrit, Maya means that which is not. That we're in a situation which is not our real situation. It's not a normal situation for the soul. And we think that we're these bodies, and we think that the needs of the body are our foremost needs. But we're actually not these bodies. And that's a false identification. Our real identity is souls. And so the foremost need is our spiritual needs, our spiritual nourishment, and spiritual progress. Okay, so we need to get good association, have accountability, and hear about the necessity of these things, about the benefit of these processes, and how this is really the way to be happy. Because we all have experienced that no matter how many material things we get, we're never satisfied, right? Material things just don't make us happy. And there's so many examples of people who are rich and famous and talented in so many ways, and materially prosperous, and so-called successful, but they're miserable. They're absolutely miserable. Many of them are depressed, and then it's the bad thing is that when you have nothing and you're thinking that if I get this material thing I'll be happy, at least you have something to hope. You have hope, right? That if I just raise my standard of living, then I'll be happy. But these people who have gotten to the highest standard of living, and they're still not happy, they become hopeless. And that's why they become depressed. They sometimes become suicidal. They become, they turn to drugs, intoxication to try to just obliterate themselves, or try to, just stimulate, create a chemical experience of happiness, to intoxication, because real happiness eludes them. So let's not just focus on working ourselves up the material ladder to finally realize after a lifetime of struggle and material success that we're still not happy, that none of those things could make us happy. Let's just take it from the scriptures that happiness doesn't come from matter. Happiness comes from spirit, from spiritual realization, and focus on that and make that a priority. Yeah, we have to be philosophically convinced of the importance of it. Okay? All right. Oh, one last question. We've got just a minute left.
All your explanations are perfect.
Go talk in the mic, then everyone can hear.
Your explanations are perfect. Thank you. But I think it's helpful also, if you're trying to make progress, to keep a journal.
A journal?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. Add that to the list.
You write in the journal, I chanted 2 rounds today, or I read this verse, or then I copy and paste it into my journal, Prabhupada's purport, and it just makes progress very easy. Good,
thank you. Yeah, there's a saying that what is measured improves, right? So when we make a note of things, like you can have a spreadsheet, the day, how many rounds you chanted, how much time you spend reading Prabhupada's books, whether you went to the temple or not, and just document it. I know devotees who keep what we call a sadhana chart, right? What time did I wake up in the morning? What time did I go to bed? How many rounds did I chant? How much did I read? How much time did I spend hearing, spiritual lectures online or something? And that helps. Yeah, that's a self-accountability thing. Good. Thank you so much for your attention and for your questions and contributions. We've got to wrap it up here now. And we've got announcements and then Arti, right? Okay, so Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Premanandi.